I guess it's time to get started. Marty didn't tell me there's going to be so many people in the room here today, and so I'm a little nervous. Just joking. My name is Gary, and welcome to Sales Training. I want to talk to you guys today about how and why we train. Now, how many people in the room have had a salesperson that you've either interacted with at your location or maybe while you were out shopping for something and they participate or acted just like that? Anybody like that? Anybody in the room? Maybe they acted unprofessional. Well, I want to talk to you today on why it's important that we train our salespeople to handle our clients in a proper way. Sales training is vital to growing your team. And I want to talk to you today first about my story, my personal story, who I am, where I came from, and why I'm here today. Well, it started a long time ago when I first got in sales. I graduated high school, and I started working for a company that most of you will recognize. In fact, some of you may be drinking their water here today. I started working for a company called Zephyr Hills. And I was fresh out of high school. I worked a minimum wage job up to that point, and I finally landed a job, a decent job, making, I think they started me off at $15 an hour. I had a 2-week orientation that I had to go through. And it was during that 2-week orientation that I got a call from my father. My father was in sales himself. He was a salesman, a furniture salesman. And he had been in sales his whole life and knew how sales was productive and how you could grow your career in the sales industry. And so I got a call from him one day as I was going to Zephyr Hills. And he told me, he says, hey, there's an ad in the newspaper. Now, that kind of tells you how old I am. But he says there's an ad in the newspaper hiring salespeople for a car lot. And he says, I think you should take this opportunity. I think this opportunity will be very beneficial for you. I think it'll be rewarding for you. Now, my father knew something about me that I didn't know about myself, and that was he saw potential in me. Now, I would imagine I'm talking to a room full of business owners or people that are involved in the sales process of this industry. And how many times have you personally maybe have seen something in somebody that they did not see in themselves? Anybody like that in this room? You've seen something, or maybe somebody saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself. So I went down to this car lot and I applied for the job, and I got the job. And of course, I thought I was lucky. I got the sales job. Little did I know they hired everybody. And so I got this job and I'm thinking, man, this is great. Well, I start, they say, hey, why don't you start next week? And so I go back and I tell Zephyr Hills, hey, listen, I've got this job. It's 100% commission. Now, I don't know how you pay your salespeople, but some of our sales staff are paid on straight commission. Some of them are paid hourly with commission. But this was a straight commission job. And I went from making minimum wage, working at part-time in high school, working for a harvesting company, changing tires and unloading fruit, to working at Zephyr Hills, making $15 an hour. At that time was big money, to going to a sales industry, a sales job, making 100% commission. But I thought, how hard can sales be? How hard can it be to sell a car? Everybody wants a new car. It can't be that hard. So they put me on the sales floor. Of course, they don't have any sales training process. They put me on the sales floor, and I began to talk to customers. And I talked to a lot of customers, but I had a problem. I didn't have any training. And I began to blow through customers, customer after customer after customer. And pretty soon, I had 0 sales. I had nothing to show for my hard work. And I thought, man, this is harder than it looks. It's harder to sell a car than it looks. Now, of course, going to today, I think it's pretty easy. Now they charge you full sticker and then some for a car, and you almost have to beg somebody to sell you a car. But back in the day, it wasn't that way. I worked hard, and I tried, and I would sell one car, and they had us on what they called a draw program. And a draw program was they had to pay you minimum wage, but then when you sold a car, you had to pay it back. How many people have ever been on a sales process like that? All right, so I'm not alone. It got to the point that I owed them so much money that they were getting ready to terminate me. They called me into the office and said, Gary, the amount of money that you owe us on your draw program is far greater than the cars that you can sell in a month. And so we're going to have to terminate you. And I was let down at that point because I thought, I thought I could do this. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know if you've ever reached that point maybe in your career where you've kind of had a disappointment. But I had a friend that came alongside, and he says, let me help him out. And he talked to the sales manager. He says, give me some time with him. I think that he can do this. And he began to run beside me and begin to train me and begin to mentor me and begin to show me different processes that I could implement in my life. And through that, I became their number one salesperson at that lot. It was through that friend that began to train me and begin to mentor me to show me the ins and the outs of the sales industry and how to take care of our customers. It was through that he also hooked me up with a training company. And they had these CDs. Most of you, if you're young enough, you don't know what a CD is, but it's not a cassette player, but it's a CD. And I used to put those CDs in my vehicle, and I would go back and forth to work. It's about a 45-minute drive. And I would listen to that CD all the way to work and all the way home. All the way to work and all the way home. And I began to indoctrinate my mind. I began to train my mind on how to overcome objections, how to talk to a customer, how to greet a customer, how to ask for the sale. In my career of sales training and training hundreds of salespeople for myself personally and for others, I have learned most salespeople don't even know how to ask for the sale. They are great people, but they don't know how to ask for the sale, and I learned this. But it was through this that I learned that it takes persistence. It takes persistence. In order to be a great salesperson, in order for your team to be a great team, it takes persistence. It takes training, relentless training, over and over and over again. That is where I got my career started. It wasn't too long after that I got promoted into management. It wasn't too long after that. I think I was 19 when I got promoted as a manager, a finance manager. When I was 20, I opened up my first buy here, pay here lot. It wasn't too long after that, a few years after that, I got into the furniture industry. My dad was a salesperson, as I told you before, for a furniture company. And it was there that we were awarded the opportunity to buy our first furniture store. We bought our first furniture store, and I remember the early days as we sat down, and you can imagine the excitement. I had a car lot, and now I'm getting into the furniture business, and I thought, what is it that's going to differentiate us from the competition? What's going to make us different than everybody else that sells furniture? Because there's, our competition's out there. Our competition is Ashley Furniture, Kane's Furniture. It's Rooms to Go. These are our competitors. What is going to make us stand out in a market where people will want to shop with us? And you know what the number one thing that we came up with? The number one thing that's going to set us apart is we are going to train our team. It is that idea that we will train our team and we will be persistent about it. It is through that philosophy that I got my career started. You see, you are only as good as your team is. Now I know they say don't bring politics into your speech, but I just want to give you an example of how great a team is. You can have a great team, and be a lousy leader, and you can still win. Look at Biden. I'm just joking. I know I shouldn't have said that. They say don't bring politics into your speech, but it's a matter of having a great team. And so having a great team and being persistent with your training was key. It was through that we grew our company over and over and over again. And we ended up buying more and more stores. Today we have 6 shed lot locations. We have 27 furniture locations. We're in the real estate business. We're in the wedding venue business. And we continue to grow our team. How do we do that? It is through being persistent with training our people to do their best and take care of our customers. Because our customers are what allows us to continue to grow. It is our customers that allow us to continue to do the thing that we love to do, and that is help and service our customers. My dad used to teach me back in the day. When we had our first store, he used to tell me this. He would say, Gary, don't worry about the money. He said, don't worry about the money. Take care of your customer. Learn to take care of your customer, because if you take care of your customer will take care of you. Take care of the customer that is in front of you. Take care of them and treat them as if you were that customer. And it was through that philosophy that I began to understand the importance of taking care of every single customer that was in front of me. And it was through that philosophy that I began to train my people how to do the exact same thing, how to take care of that customer. See, we have all these locations, but we're not there. How do I know that my customers are getting taken care of? How do I know that my customers are the ones that are being taken care of? And I want to tell you, it was there, through training that I launched my career. Once again, I started off making minimum wage. Today, in the furniture side of things, we are on track this year to do over $120 million in retail sales. It is that idea that is training our people to take care of our customers. It is that idea that we want to make sure that our salespeople are persistent in their sales training. Because persistence, relentless training, is what makes the difference between a good team and a bad team. Is that idea that we are relentless in training our people on a day-to-day basis. It is that idea that makes us stand out from our competition. I'm going to tell you a story about one of our salespeople and something that happened to him. And it was that idea that it kind of dawned on me when I heard him tell the story, that it kind of dawned on me to think, this is what it's all about. Billy is one of our salespeople at one of our lots, one of our shed lots. Billy loved to go garage selling. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a garage seller. My wife is. My wife loves to garage selling. My wife loves to have garage sales. She buys stuff from garage sales and then sells it at her garage sale. I don't know what the joy and fun of that is, but she loves it. Anybody like that love to go garage selling? Anybody? A couple people? All right. There's nothing wrong with it. My wife, between garage selling and Goodwill, she lives at those two places. Saturdays is a garage sale, and the rest of the week it's at Goodwill. But Billy loved to go garage selling. Billy loved to go garage selling so much one morning, Saturday morning, bright and early, as any of you garage selling people do, you get up early before the sun gets up and you go find those signs, or you look on Facebook Marketplace and you find out where the best garage sales are going to be. Billy located this one, and he pulls up early in the morning, him and his wife, and he notices, he thinks, I have landed in heaven. There was tools, there was everything a man's man would want was at this garage sale. And he thought, I can't believe I've hit the jackpot. As he begins to rummage through some of the stuff and begins to pick up the different things, as Billy is one of our top performing salespeople, he can't help but notice that the lady who is hosting the garage sale has got a tear in her eye. As he notices, he kind of brushes it off and continues to shop. But Billy, being a great salesperson who loves people, who takes care of his customers, can't help but notice again that she has now got a tear running down her cheek. As Billy walks up to her and begins to have a conversation with her and begins to ask some questions about making sure everything's all right. She begins to tell him a story of why she's having this yard sale. She begins to tell Billy, she says, I'm having this yard sale because I lost my husband in the war. He said, and when I lost him, I no longer can afford the house that I'm living in. And the new house that we are going to won't be big enough to store his belongings. And so I'm getting rid of the belongings that won't fit anymore into my new house. Billy, of course, being a great salesperson, begins to ask her a few more questions. He says, have you ever considered a portable storage building? As Susan looks at Billy and she says, I have. In fact, I've been to some of the areas, the lots around the area, and I can't afford to purchase a portable storage building. Billy begins to ask a few more questions and begins to offer her an option where she can finance this building on a rent-to-own process with very little money down and a very low payment. The end of the story is she was able to keep her belongings. Billy was able to deliver that building within just a few days, and she was able to now afford the building that she needed. You know, it was Billy who was taking note of the situation. He was recognizing the person in front of him. This Susan, who had gone to many different lots. And once again, we don't bash our competition. We don't talk bad about our competition. No, it doesn't do us any good. And our competition has great salespeople. But the salespeople that she had ran into forgot to ask her one of the most important questions, and that is if she would be willing to finance it. See, so many times our salespeople, we think, are trained. We think our salespeople are taking care of the Susan that's coming into our lot. But we have a problem, and that is they're not trained. And we think that they're asking the right questions, and we think that they're asking Susan if she can afford a monthly payment, but rather they're giving her a price and letting her walk out the door and not meeting the needs of our customers. How many Susans have walked into your lot that you don't know about? Maybe you didn't get to help them. Maybe you did help them, and maybe you forgot to ask the right question. It is through relentless training that Billy was able to identify a need, to be able to identify a problem, and be able to go after and resolve the issue. It is that idea that Billy would take his skills that he had learned, and he would make them and make sure that she got the opportunity to be able to keep the items that were near and dear to Susan. See, Billy was part of our sales training program, and he would practice. See, first we have to be persistent about what we do, but next thing we have to do is we have to practice. Practicing is key in the sales industry. You know, I don't know about you, but one of the things that we used to do, and we still do today, I used to do it as a salesperson, now I do it as a trainer, but we used to role play. Anybody have role play before? How awkward is role play? It's still to this day, it's very awkward. When you're having a role play time, you're like, hey, welcome, my name is Gary, and you're talking to a person that you see all the time. But we still do it. Why do we do it? It's because we're practicing for the opportunity when that customer walks into our lot, when that customer walks into our retail location, we're practicing to be perfect. To be able to answer the questions that our customers will have is to be able to help the Susans that walk into our place of business to be able to take care of our customers. Because remember, our customers are the ones who take care of us. How do you grow? How do you scale? How do you grow your team? Take care of your customers. Be persistent with your training. Practice your training. You know, I think about our military. Our military is one of the greatest militaries out there, I believe our military is the greatest. The greatest military of all time. You know, our military doesn't do one thing. And I've heard this with the salespeople before. I'll say, I'll ask some of the managers, and I'll say, when do you train your salespeople? And I've heard this. They'll say, well, we train our salespeople when we identify that there's a problem. That's great. That's great. Think about this. If our military did that, we only train our soldiers when we identify that there's a problem. That's a huge problem. We need to train our salespeople on a daily basis, constantly. We need to be persistent about it. We need to practice with them all the time. We need to be involved in their lives constantly. We don't practice when we identify a problem. It's too late. The Susan that walked into your store that you're going to now identify the problem has already left. The Susan that came in and was trying to fulfill a need that she had is gone. So we need to practice on a daily basis. We need to practice with our salespeople. Whether it's you personally or whether it's your sales manager or whether it's a one-on-one, we encourage our salespeople to practice with each other, to role play with each other. There's many times I walk into a location and there's nothing going on. Hey, what a great opportunity to practice. Why? Because we want our skills, we want to be ready for battle when the customer walks in. Now, we're not going to battle our customers. We're not going to go to war with them, but we want to be sharp. We want to be ready. We want our mindset engaged, being ready to answer and fulfill the needs of our customers. It is through practice that this happens. It is through that idea that we practice on a daily basis. In fact, I want to do a little exercise with you. If you have your hand, I shouldn't step away from the microphone here. I better stay in front of the microphone. Everybody reach out in front of them. Put your thumbs up. All right, now twist your hands over. So put your thumbs down. Now I want you to cross your hands, and I want you to interlock your fingers. Okay, make sure everybody's interlocking their fingers. Now what I want you to do is I want you to flip over and put your thumbs up. Everybody put your thumbs up. Now if you're jammed up, I better stay behind the microphone. If you're jammed up, you're probably wondering how that happened. You see, some of you got it, some of you didn't. But what I did was I flipped my hand over before I interlocked my fingers. But that happens a lot of times when we're training our salespeople, is we begin to try to explain to them something, but they see something totally different. How many times have you trained your salespeople, or maybe you heard something, and you thought you got it, but then later on you found out it wasn't that? Anybody like that? I know I've been like that. I thought, man, I got this. I got it. I figured it out. And the person that was telling me was like, you didn't get it. You don't know what you're doing. That's what happens a lot of times with our salespeople, is we begin to think that we're training them, and they're not getting it. Because, see, everybody learns differently. And if I was up here to tell you, hey, everybody learns the exact same way every single time, I'd be lying to you. It takes different types of training for every single person. What our philosophy is we use training multiple different ways for every single person. Why? Because they'll catch a little bit here, 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 and it works 100% of the time. Why? Because it's constant training. It's that idea that we're expanding their mind, bringing them to a point where they didn't think they could go. It is that idea that we're having the Billies take care of the Susan who walks into our lot. The next thing I want to talk to you about is that idea that we're doing it on purpose. We have a purpose. I've been to so many places that they have a training program, but there's no rhyme or reason. There's no purpose to their training program. Do you have a purpose? What's your purpose? Why do you train your salespeople? What are you training them on? Is there a method to your training? Or are they just as lost as you, but they don't want to say anything because you're the one paying their paycheck? Have a purpose. See, when we have a purpose, we have a vision, our salespeople and our team can get involved in that vision, and then we can all be going the same direction. We all can be trekking down the same road, and we can begin to polish ourselves and begin to sharpening iron, and begin to encourage one another to achieve that. You see, when we have a purpose, it is that idea that we are motivated and we motivate each other. Part of sales is incentivizing our salespeople. How many people find it very difficult sometimes to incentivize your salespeople? Anybody? Is it just me? I know I find myself sometimes find it hard to learn to incentivize our salespeople because you constantly have to be changing it up. You have one sales program 1 month, and they get tired of it, and you got to come up with a different one. Back early in my career, I learned that incentivizing my salespeople doesn't always have to come at a monetary value. You see, most people don't care about the monetary value. They care about a recognition. In fact, it's proven in Forbes that most people, I believe it's 50-some% of people, leave their job not because of money, because of lack of recognition. It is that lack of being recognized. Your salespeople, your sales team wants to be recognized. Let me give you a case in point. If I was to offer you $5 or $10 to hit a sales goal this month, for those that are in this room, and I imagine I'm speaking to a bunch of business leaders and business owners, most of you would have zero motivation to hit that sales goal. Zero. I know I would. You'd say $10? In fact, if I upped the ante and I said, I'm going to give you $1,000 to hit this sales goal, maybe you might have some, but I don't think myself I would even be slightly motivated. But if I offered you a plaque with your name on it, hanging on the wall, where everyone can see, all of a sudden, you have more and more people that are going to be motivated to earn that plaque. It was through this that I learned the value of that, because we used to try to motivate our salespeople, and we would give away monetary things, and we would think, man, I'm gonna give them $500. I'm gonna give these people $1,000 to hit their sales goal this month, and I found out I was just wasting my money, because I'm thinking, what does it take to motivate me? $5,000, $10,000? What does it take? But little did I know that when I would hold a promotion with a plaque, that it would get more response than a monetary value. It would get more traction than a monetary value. It is that idea that that you have to have a purpose. We are in the furniture business as well as the shed industry. One of our goals was to be in the top 100 retailers for the furniture industry. And you know what you get when you get into the top 100? You get a plaque. You get a little plaque on the wall, you get a name recognition, and you know what? We strived daily to be in the top 100. And we made it. And with great success, we were like, yes! But it was just a plaque. We worked hard, we trained hard, we instilled in our people, this is what we want to do, this is our vision, this is our goal. And they got on board for a plaque. So incentivizing your salespeople doesn't always have to be monetary. Now, we still do monetary incentives. We still do that. But I will tell you, most of the time, it is not monetary that gets your salespeople involved. It is a recognition. Another time we had made this like wrestling belt. I don't know if any of you have ever watched wrestling, but that belts are huge. We made one out of duct tape. And this thing was hideous. I mean, it was the ugliest thing that you could ever see. But you know what? They wanted it. Because it was the idea that they recognized they won. It was that idea that we gave them a purpose to win. Give your salespeople a purpose, a reason to win. So the first thing we have to do is we have to be persistent. The next thing we have to do is we have to practice. You got to practice. Then we have to have a purpose. And then lastly, and that brings us into this long-term idea, how do we keep our salespeople a long time, it's proven. Now, if I was to ask most of you in this room, hey, is sales training proven to work? I would say probably 100% of you would raise your hand. Yes, it's proven to work. But do our salespeople know this? Are we explaining to them, hey, listen, if you do these steps, if you just believe in the philosophy of sales training, it is proven to work. It is our job as business leaders, it is our job as leaders of our team to prove to them that sales training does and will work. It will work. It is that idea that we practice and we are persistent and that we engage with our people on a day-to-day basis, and that we prove to our salespeople that sales training will and can work. I want to give you some statistics here, and that is 59% of people, of employees, have received no training. 59%. Can you imagine? That is almost 60% of people receive zero training. I was one of them. They put me on the sales floor and they said, hey, go sell a car. And by the way, you owe us every dollar you make in minimum wage, you owe it back to us. What a job. Zero training. 60% of people. It's that idea that 15% of salespeople, these are people that are helping the Susan who walks into your lot, 15% of them received training within the last 12 months. You know what happens, what I see a lot of times, is we hire a new salesperson, we train them because we're good, And then they become the professional, right? And then we quit training them. We stop because we think they've arrived. They're great. And then all of a sudden we realize we've made a mistake. We should have kept training them. I don't know about you, but it's happened to me. I've gone through this cycle. Early in my career, I did this cycle. I would train them, train, stop. All right, they made it. Next thing I know, a year later, they quit. Why did they quit? They were my great salesperson. As I began to talk to them, as they would leave, I started doing an exit interview. They'd leave, and I'd say, hey, listen, before you leave, I want to talk to you. And I want you to be open with me. I want you to be 100% honest with me. Is it something that I did? Is it something that we did wrong? What is the reason why you are leaving? And you know what I begin to find? Most of the people begin to leave because they said they quit growing. They quit growing. See, no matter if it's going back to the basics or advancing them in a career beyond their imagination, is that idea that we want to keep them, our salespeople, growing. We have a company now, it's called Making Sales Simple. It's an online training platform that we put all our salespeople through. You know what happens when they get to the end? Anybody want to guess? They start over. Why do they start over? They already learned it. Because you have to go back to the basics. Sales is not hard. What's hard with sales is sticking to the basics. It's going back and helping our customers on a daily basis. You know what? When they get done with that and they get all the way done, guess what they do? They start over. Why would we do that? Because we want to make sure that when the Susan walks in to our lot, that Billy is there to greet her, and Billy is there to help her, and be able to fulfill the needs and the wants that Susan needs. 74% of employees are willing to learn to remain employable. They're willing. This is what I found out. Before I looked up the statistic, I learned this myself. They're willing to learn. Hey, listen, if I can remain employable, I'm willing to learn. Just teach me. Because think about this. If your salespeople could learn on their own without you, they would be where you're sitting. See, I'm talking to the elite in the room. You guys are business owners. You guys know how to train yourself. You guys know how to get the job done. But how do you instill that into your people? How do you change that same philosophy that you've got in your mind and instill that into your salespeople? How do you get them to take care of your customer? 78% of employees would most likely leave their current job to work for an organization that invests in employment development. Invest in your employees. Your employees are the ones taking care of your customers. Your employees are the ones that are helping your guests as they're walking into your lot. Invest in them. It's not all about you. Life is not all about you. It's about them. It's about investing in your people. You want to grow? Invest in them. You want to have a successful business? Invest in your people. That's how you have a successful business. That's how you grow. That's how you scale. A lot of people have it backwards. Well, how do I get something out of this? What's in it for me? No, what's in it for them? Invest in them, and they'll take care of you. In fact, 89% of employees want training anywhere, anytime. This is why we created the company Making Sales Simple. In fact, my partners are here today. My brother Andrew, my brother Peter in the back, Barbara, and there's another Peter Miller in the back. It is why we did this. 89%, we found the sales industry is changing daily. Customers are smarter than they ever were. Salespeople, for the most part, seem to be dumber than they ever were. Now, no offense, I'm a salesperson, so I'll take that on the chin, right? But it just seems to be evolving rapidly. 89% of employees want training anywhere, anytime. They want to be able to train on the way to work and on the way home, like me. They want to be able to listen to it at their own pace. They want to be able to pull out their smartphone and get some training. They want to be able to go home and jump on the computer and be able to get some training. They want to be able to sit in the office and pull it up and get some training. That's why it's important to train anywhere, anytime. Everyone learns differently. The next thing is for a long-term employee retention rates rise 30 to 50% with strong learning cultures. 30 to 50%. Now, I don't know about you, during the great resignation these last couple years, How many people lost some really good salespeople? They left you. Anybody? I know I did. They left you, the great resignation. People begin to switch jobs up during the COVID years, 2020, 2021. They begin to leave careers and go do something different. But you know what? We've got some salespeople. We still today have salespeople that have been with us since day one. Why? We invest in training our people, in developing them to become greater than they are. Now, whether that's they work for you or whether that's they work for somebody else, understand we are in the people business. I have some salespeople that I've trained in my career that have gone on, that have very successful business. And when they leave, I wish them the best. I'm not mad at them. I encourage them, hey, listen, do better for yourself. Why? Because I'm genuinely interested in you becoming better. And they can see that. When you're only interested in developing yourself, you're going to lose. Develop your people. Why do we develop our people? Because the Susan that Billy talked to and met and began to help her, the Susan could be in your lot this very moment, this very day. While you're here at this meeting enjoying yourself, the Susan could be walking in. Is your sales team helping Susan get what she needs? Thank you so much for listening today.